Yeah, bro, so as you know, I want to be the next big DJ of the world. I want to fucking headline and tear some assholes up at these concerts where kids are drugged and shit.
Alright, Sin, are you willing to fucking learn?
Down
Alright, so the first thing I need to teach you is, if you ain't redlining, you ain't headlining.
Wow, I've never heard of that saying
Trust
before.
me, bro, I trained so many DJs, you know, like fucking Cornets,
Sure,
King
everyone
Alan
lives by
Walker, baby. Show me a fucking track.
Alright, well, I mean, I do have this track here. Check it out. Let's, you know, bump it up. Good, right?
Yeah, it's fucking good, but you forgot the first rule. If you ain't got loudness, you fucking crowdless. Bump that shit up. Bump that shit up.
Beep beep, what's up ninjas? It's hella hot in here, but if you're headlining, you're probably redlining, and if you are crowdless, you probably ain't got the loudness. Today I'm gonna be discussing reasons why you're not getting as loud as your favorite producers, and it's gonna be little things you're gonna see, but hopefully these things open your eyes in case you want to get loud. Now there's a couple of things to note. The first one is that mixing and mastering is very subjective. Some people like their tracks super compressed and loud, while other people think there needs to be more dynamics. Definitely going to be very subjective, and this video is going to be for those people that want to get their track as loud as the pros, or that are just kind of curious on it. So hopefully this video helps you get as loud as your producer and helps you start headlining and getting some you know what. So in front of us we have the T-Rack CS metering, which is going to help us measure perceived loudness. Now this thing is going to tell us what perceived loudness is. Now in terms of loudness, there's two things. One, how loud the DAW is saying you are, which means, you know, you're either at 0.0 dB already or you're at -6, and then how loud it sounds like to you, what you perceive the loudness to be. Now there's a couple of things to note. First off, higher frequencies are going to have higher perceived loudness than lower frequencies. That's why if you have a sub and a crying baby right next to each other, the crying baby is going to sound way louder than the sub. With that in mind, the first example and the first reason why you're probably not getting as loud is because you have too much low end. For example, here we have this track, and this is going to have a perceived loudness of, let's see, you know, it goes up to -9, -8 around there. Sorry, -9 and -8.5 around there. And it's pretty much well done there. So now if we add low end to this, aka we increase the volume of the sub and decrease the volume of the leads a little bit, you're going to see what happens. So first off, what's happening, and I know it's very extreme scenario, and I always like to show extreme because now you know what's happening. First off, you know, it's not as loud as the leads playing. That's why we lose a lot of perceived loudness. The second thing is I see a lot of people always like to have the sub as loud as their kick sometimes, and that's not always going to be the case, because if you want your track to have really loud leads, you want the leads to be the ones that are making the limiter work, not the sub, because if you make the sub work, first off, the leads and everything else that isn't the sub is going to get reduced in volume while the sub is fucking loud. Great. But it's not going to sound as loud as you want it. Now, if you look at tracks like on Revealed, on fucking the Kashmir tracks, and you see how loud they are, notice that there isn't that much of a boomy low end, and that's done for a reason. Too much low end can cause your perceived loudness to go down. The second reason why you're probably not getting a loud mix is because your mix isn't just there. What I've done in this project is I've gotten rid of some of the processing that's been done to the chords, that's been done to everything to show you what's going to happen to the sounds. You know, we've gotten rid of everything here. We still have a couple of things going on. But let me show you what happens to very badly mixed song. I have the same master, so technically we should be as loud in terms of loudness, right? It's going to say 0 dB. Wrong. What's going to happen is perceived loudness is going to go down. If we level this or try to, it's pointless. It sounds like shit, and our perceived loudness isn't where it was, where it sounded way better. It sounded better when it was louder. So a bad mixdown is going to cause that, and if that's you guys, all you have to do is keep practicing. The next reason you're not getting as loud as you want to is because you're not using good limiters. And sadly, Ableton has one of the worst limiters out there. For example, right now, the track in perceived loudness and to the WLM is going to be around Now watch what happens when I get rid of the limiters I'm using. I'm going to use the Ableton's one, and I'm going to use the limiter from Ableton here and drop that in. And notice what happens when I try to get as loud as the way we had it here. Let's put this at 0.00. No need to worry about exporting right now, so we're not going to lower it. Here we go. Can barely break -6, and when we do, it sounds distorted. And this has to do with the algorithms that are running behind the scenes. A lot of third-party plugins, they're going to have better algorithms than the stock ones, and that's because different people worked on them, and they just sound a lot better. They figured stuff out. Now, I always say, you know, experiment with different types of limiters. Don't always go to the same one, because one might work better for dubstep, while the other one doesn't work that well due to a few changes in the algorithm. Now, another reason why you might not get as loud as a track is because you're probably making house music, which is very bass heavy, very bass dominant, and you're not making dubstep. Dubstep has a lot of mid to high frequencies, while house music tends not to have those frequencies. So you can't expect to get as loud as a dubstep track when you're making house music. You can try, but dubstep is going to have those higher and mid frequencies that are just going to make it louder. Now, in order to prove this, pretty much all we need to do is grab an EQ8 on this song and see how loud the lows are. Notice how the lows are barely almost hitting -14. Now let's do the opposite and let's just get the highs without any lows. Notice how it's going all the way up to -10 and -9. So that being said, songs and music that has higher mid and high frequencies are going to be louder than anything that is going to be low end based. Now, another reason why your track might not be as loud is, it has to do with the second reason, which is bad mixing, but the last reason is just going to be placement of your instruments. You're not placing them properly. For instance, here I have a kick. I've seen people do this where they make their kick wide for some reason, and I don't see why you would want to have a I don't see the reason why you would want to have a wide kick. The perceived loudness went down a little bit there, and the reason for this is because whenever you have something that's driving, aka a driving lead, and for that instance, you know, a driving lead is going to be something like the Cashmere lead, that needs to be more in the center of the mix rather to the sides. When you have too many elements on the sides of the mix, you lose a lot of perceived loudness because you lose that drive. When you have your kick being on the sides, you lose that power because the kick is no longer hitting in the middle and it's hitting in the sides. It tends to rattle the speakers a bit, and it's just not that good. I know I say mixing is very subjective, but one of the things I always disagree with people is that your kick can be wide. This is something that I'm always like, no, if you're making dance music, your kick has to be in the center of the mix. Why the fuck are you gonna have it wide? Now, there's also creative mixing where people just like, fuck it, you know, it doesn't sound like everybody else. I can be original this way. I can pan to the left just like Flume did and still work. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment below. Mainstage Revolution, all the project files you saw here are going to be a part of that pack. There's going to be a total of 3 to give you the sound of W&W's label Mainstage. I hope you guys have a nice day. Today I'm going to go see that movie Baby Driver, which I hear it's kind of music related, so I hope it's good. It's also featuring that guy and Solo or something. He's a producer. Anyways, then just take care and have an amazing day. Whoa, whoa.